Hey, what's good, YouTube? Like the shirt. And want to send a salute to the A Game Nation. Much still up to the A Game family. Y'all been doing the damn thing. Enjoyed the videos. You can check out the Crimson Cure, Young Manhood channel, Sheep Stay Sleep, The Bishop, and Evo Sosa. And there are many others with the family growing. We're out here supporting the message of forward progression. So you already know the deal. Use the code RONIN10 and that'll be your passport into the A Game lifestyle. We're talking about vitality, energy, focus, and libido. As you already know, tomorrow's my A Game day. So, that being said, this conversation is going to deal with provision. It's part of the Duality series. Now I'm going to do the right way provision, but to give you the definition, this is what it is. He produces masculine light, giving him the ability to look ahead and or prepare in advance. He generates stability in the forms of ideas, supplies, food, finances, clothing, housing, etc. Now, break that down. Planning ahead, you're looking at foresight. Seeing things not just as they are, which people poorly claim themselves to be red pill. You see things as they are. Now, knowing that things could go bad or good or whatever, you always plan for the worst. The best or the worst. So, excuse me. Now, that's all of that. Now, when it comes down to this, I wrote a little something on here. It says using your foresight to properly plan for unforeseen challenges and dangers. Now, let's look at that as far as like, this is what we need to do as men. With me and my peers, I'm encouraging that during our travels, even when you're traveling across, at home or abroad, you start learning things as far as like CPR, which I'm going to get my certification at the Red Cross. Learning these things just in case whatever happens, you could be right there on time to take care of business, not only to save lives, but it helps enhance your ability to maneuver in many ways. It makes you more reliable in a constructive way. Then I'm getting back into the gun range and learning a martial art. The thing is, when it comes to peace and the preservation of that peace, you need to have your health intact. You need to be spiritually sound, because in the military, I learned the way we were trained is you got to learn how to think clearly under pressure. That's why at first, when we came in there, it first seemed chaotic. They were yelling, and you remember the yellow footprints. You ask any Marine especially about that. But they groom you to learn how to, when everyone's losing their shit, you mentally slow everything down, just like you see in the Equalizer, but that's an exaggerated form of it. We got to start learning things as far as like learn how to clean weapons, learn how to handle weapons, learning the different ways or different applications of said weapons. And where the physical weapons are one thing, but this has to be the ultimate weapons. Those are the main things. Those are the things that ones that kill people, they hurt people, and they can save people. It's all about the application mainly. You got to start learning things about that'll help you as a man, that helps you broaden your influence. Learning how to understand people's body language, especially when you're going around nearby and abroad. Certain cities had different slang. So, again, that helps you become more socially adept in many ways. But there's many ways to apply this. But when you're talking about in your areas, dealing like Indiana, this is tornado prone area. So the thing is, you start looking at things as far as like an emergency generator, looking for things like a rocket stove, or things that help you have fresh water, all the resources that you need in peacetime. So whenever the shit hits the fan, you're prepared and not looking bad or irresponsible or dangerous by not having the things planned out, or even an evacuation plan or a contingency plan, which is something that isn't talked about in this space until now. This applies to my veterans and civilians alike. These are things that we as veterans do know we need to share this information amongst our peers and each other. But again, this can go many areas, but I'll leave that back. I'll go back to it later. Now, when you're talking about interpersonal time management and healing, aka paying yourself, when it comes to the healing part, whenever, let's say I'll use myself for example, when I've had back-to-back relationships, I needed time away from everything. I didn't need any more further distractions or opportunities to go further into the rabbit hole that I needed to. It's been said, whenever you're in a hole, stop digging. So I had to get off to myself and correct myself. I had to learn how to repair and first forgive yourself, because we have this innate desire to point fingers at everyone, and yes, they played a role, but you did provide them stage time to show their ass and interrupt your life, mess with your resources and everything. So when it comes to provision on that aspect, you need to provide yourself proper boundaries and a sense of discipline and direction. Now, this is going sidebar. There are brothers out here who promote the idea of thinking black men, which I agree we need to be thinking black men. But what is often not talked about is the direction of our thoughts and the the proper application of our thoughts. It's a very unisex, more like term. Of course we think. As you've seen in this space, what kind of thinking are we reflecting out here through our actions and through our content, which I'll get to in a minute. Thing is, what you're seeing is you got a lot of individuals who think that just throwing it out there without consequences, no structure, no order, and no systems to properly gain access to the other P's, which is problem solving, protection, and procreation. If we don't have any focus, you can say thinking all you want, but as they say in the good book, faith without works is dead. We could think we're doing something online or off, but if there's no direction or channeled focus or energy to it, you're basically wasting your time, which is what we've been doing for almost 20 years. But I digress. Now, when it comes to the benefits of proper provision execution, we're talking about ideas, supplies, foods, finances, clothing, housing, habits, training, meditation, social awareness and aptitude, and etc. Now, I just, tuned in to, guys talking about game. And in my personal opinion, it is needed because there's a lot of socially awkward individuals who get out here and come with this entitlement. They figure they're supposed to be grandfathered into some panties. And that is a very self-destructive mindset more than anything. In this space is the manosphere. There are many men who have varying degrees of expertise and mastery in certain fields. As men, we're supposed to be multifaceted in many areas, that we're basically utilitarian in a productive fashion that benefits us mainly. So when you talk about provision, you're supposed to provide yourself not only with clear and concise information to execute properly, but you're supposed to provide a firewall when it comes to known and covert bullshit. And since I'm bringing that up, I'm going to show you the difference between conflict creators and content creators in both of these videos. On the positive side, I'm going to talk about content creators. In this space, the Black Manosphere, this is supposed to be an internet repository of information and mastery of many areas that guide, direct, and help evolve all the men pertaining that are seeking black male agency in a constructive and concise manner. This is what, loosely, is what the Black Manosphere is supposed to be. Now, when it comes to being a content creator, you got to ask yourself, is my content challenging my peers to think, to jump into action correctly, and to problem solve and move on to the next step? It's very linear. A salute to the bishop and the sheep for correcting me on certain things. Like, if you say you're red pill, you think you see the world as it is. You got to learn how to maneuver. You start seeing the code for what it is, not this, goofiness, this circular thought, which I'll get into the other video. But whatever application we apply at the time, we got to be active, we got to be direct, and we work towards completion or finality, no matter what it is. Even if it's in the pursuit of them lemon panties. Shout out to Will Hunter on Facebook for that. So if you hear about that, that's who started that. But I'm going to keep going. Now, when it comes to provision, as far as with your peers, we're talking about constructive criticism and correction. That's the other part I want to say about the thinking black men. If you figure you're above reproach and consequences, you're thinking wrong. Because we're talking about in this space, we offer a lot of our experiences in order to show levels of growth and extend the hand to our brothers that avoid the pitfalls that are out here set for you, that got me or some of my peers, so that way you can move forward. And motivation, interpersonal security, and evolution. As I said with the content versus conflict creators, as content creators, we're supposed to offer content that some people might not get it right then and there, but we work hard to give them examples and homework to hone in to what we're talking about, so we can move on to more important issues that often go unaddressed or discussed, which goes to the Black Manosphere report card, but we'll talk about that later. Space to grow and learn, using brotherhood as a shield. We're talking about accountability, and it is my personal opinion, what we're enduring for these past 60 to 70 years, pretty much getting to 70 years, it's not much of a gender war as it is the accountability crusades. Because this is where we're at now. You have individuals who, again, use fornication without foresight, the whole pump and dump goofiness. But when they create bastard children, or they get burnt with STDs, or they get caught up in these tender dick situations to where their lives are in jeopardy, their finances are in trouble, their reputations take a shot, all the things of the 10 life values, which we have here. Anything that violates these or compromises these, this is where brotherhood is supposed to be like a shield to help you stay on point. Iron should sharpen iron, not sporks breaking sporks. You're supposed to have a level of systems, order, and structure. That's what we're supposed to provide, not just for ourselves, but others who we choose to entertain, be it peers, family, women, what have you. If it does not adhere to any of that stuff, they are potential insurgents out there to outright disrupt with your permission. Now, we're talking about with the women, which is a hot topic, unfortunately, but we're going to do this constructively. When it comes to women, we are not emotional tampons and inconvenience, i.e. food guy, rent guy, sneaky link, flunky, etc. What you're supposed to provide for yourself are boundaries. And if they cannot respect those boundaries, then you provide the space for them to learn from the outside of your boundaries. That's what you do. This is when you have a level of systems, order, structure, a level of self-esteem and preservation. So it doesn't hurt. It's a beautiful thing to give. That's why I say out of 3 G's, you need to be a sensible giver. So if they cannot respect your boundaries, they don't respect what you're on, they're more of the external than the internal, then it is your job for you to provide them distance to watch how you work and provide them the opportunity to understand where they fucked up. Now, when it comes to these energy and time leeches, the provision aspect, here's what you need to provide. I'm going to go and look to the problem solving. When you see that they only call you to adhere to their agendas or to waste your time or anything that is counterproductive, you immersing yourself in your purpose. This is where, again, you provide them one of these and these. That's pretty much it. That's how you protect yourself. And let them watch from a distance how you exercise procreation in a correct fashion. Now, when it comes to procreation, it is not our place to when it comes to provision, we need to adhere to how we, as content creators, direct our message to our peers. You have to ask yourself, is my message being used to monetize mediocrity? Is my message being used to give men the proper direction and tools to counteract these damning labels such as super predators, thugs, nif-nons, and all that goofiness? Or is it adding fuel to the fire to have the world basically crucify us and make it a sport like they have been? What we need to provide is ways and means of how to make better men in spite of this gynocratic system. This is like us adhering to our masculine nature, opposing environment. And this environment is very toxic, not just to us, but for us. So in order to protect ourselves, protect our peace of mind, you have to provide yourself and your peers the right direction. And just think of it as the decathlon, where you have a stick. And in this space, as content creators, or even just as men that have experience, while we're running the race, we're going to run to a certain point. Now, it's going to get to a point where someone's going to be running beside you. Healthy competition. And there's going to come to some point where they're going to extend their hand out. Now, it's on you to pass the baton. As men, you're supposed to run and get as much distance as you can with the time given, the information you're putting out there, and sticking to the mission. Because at some point, your objectives are going to change. And the ones with stronger legs must carry the mission on beyond you while you take care of business elsewhere. Or you earned your rest. And we're getting tired of people sitting there just slapping somebody's hand and pushing them aside and think they're going to run the race with weak legs. That's what we've been doing as of late, and that stops now. So, in conclusion to that, as content creators, we need to use our respective strengths and weaknesses to challenge and empower our peers. I know, respectively, that as a content creator, I have made my mistakes. I have fucked up quite a bit. But number one, I'm not just owning up to it or every situation I've done, but I'm willing to show my peers that I aspire to see you better than me. All of us. A lot of us have taken a lot of slings and arrows. We're talking about Manosphere 1.0, 2.0, whatever point version it is now. We're supposed to be grooming the next group to take what we're building here, rebuilding here in real time. Not just preserve it, but preserve for the ones who've been groomed to the point where they can carry this to the next level and help the next generation. Now, when we're talking about provision, it is not meant for saving individuals like hyenas who are stuck on being hyenas. You got to look at things as they are. Again, we said as red pill. some people are not worth saving. So as far as provision, you're supposed to provide that level of insight. You know what? This person is beyond help. Deuces. You do what you do. It's what it is. So with that, I'm going to get into the wrong side of provision. But I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Salute to all the new subscribers. Definitely like, share, subscribe, hit the notification button. Know I'm going to bring in more content. I was busting my ass today working to get things done, and it's a great thing to have a sense of accomplishment, and do understand that peace of mind and peace is not free. So the reason I talked about provision today is because as men, we need to focus. We need to provide ourselves the opportunities to stop complaining and make results and move on to the next step. Because if we do not, the only thing we're providing is wasted time and things that I'm going to talk about in the next video. So with that, much love to you guys. Looking forward to chopping up with you guys later. Deuces.